Okay, everyone. This is Charlie. I am doing this lecture to make up for the fact that our lecture from today, which was January 24th, on the when we started doing practical applications of command line, it didn't get recorded, so I'm doing this video. Yeah, so we're going to review some PyScript stuff, and we will start installing GitHub, and I will run you through step by step how to do SSH keys, and I'll talk a little bit about installing GitHub, and show you the correct links and things to do. Okay, so first of all, some announcements from earlier today. Please tell me if you have not either received an enrollment code or been added to the Ed or grade scope. Ed is very, very important for this class. This is where all of our announcements get put, especially the announcements about things that we ask you to do before coming into lecture. If you've not installed VS Code or Anaconda, please refer to the week 1, lecture 1 page on B courses. Or come to office hours, but the later you leave this, the more of an issue it's going to be. You will really start needing it. Homework 1 was released today on January 24th. It's due a week from today on January 31st at 11:59, and we have our 3-week grace period as well. So the late deadline is February 21st, I believe. Also, disregard that office hours start today. They did not start today. They started this past Monday, January 21st. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is show you guys how to get to the pages on B courses. So if you go to the home page of the Python Decal B courses, you will see this pages here. Click on that. It'll bring you again to the home page. You hit view all pages in the upper left, and then these are all of the lectures so far. Every lecture should have a page, and it's going to walk you through a brief summary of what we did. So if you ever miss something and the lecture video, for whatever reason, is not making sense, then you can, if you can go ahead and go here, all of the information is here. And then we'll look at the setting up an SSH key a little bit later, as well as installing Git a little bit later. Yeah, so let's return to the slides, and I can tell you a little bit more about Git and GitHub, as they are two different things. So let's start talking about some applications for the command line. This is basically a table of contents, as we talked about in Monday's lecture. You have Python scripts, which will have the ending .py. You can run your Python scripts from your command line, which can be really helpful in certain situations. We're going to talk about installing packages, which you should have done before Wednesday, or if you have not caught up yet, then I'll go through it right now or in this lecture. You can connect to other machines. Like I told you guys about, there's an SSH command that you can access other computers from. I talked about this a little bit in a previous lecture, that your laptop itself is basically just hardware, but you can access other computers' software straight from your command line, and it can be really helpful. And number 4, you can look like a hacker, sit in a coffee shop, pretend you're in the Matrix. It's very entertaining, and honestly, that was the big draw for me when I first learned Terminal. So here's some review. I would very much recommend taking a second to pause the video and think about the answer to this. I'll give you a second to just pause this video. So the answer to this will be you'll run the command Python 3 and then surprise.py. Python 3 is all one word. There's a space in between that, and then the file name, in this case, it's surprise.py. However, this is kind of a trick question. Should you just run a command script before checking the context of this random script? The answer is quite obviously no. So use protection. So I'm actually going to skip through this since Monday's lecture is up and you can take a look at that, basically showing the importance of using command line. It's what I was using when I was observing. Yeah, and it's really helpful in a lot of situations. Very specifically, scripts are files containing code that you can run in your command line that the computer recognizes as Python code. We talked about it a little bit before. In our case, the Python scripts will be files ending in .py, and these scripts can be edited in text editors. I personally use Terminal because for a long time, my computer didn't have room for VS Code. It just didn't have the RAM for it. So I got used to editing my code in Terminal, and it's kind of stuck. But the reason you guys have VS Code is to make your text editing a little bit more streamlined. VS Code was made to be a relatively simple user interface. So first, let's make a GitHub account. Fair warning, so this is me. I'm your favorite instructor. GitHub is a pain, and you learn it by screwing up. That's just kind of a thing. It's true in all of coding. You learn mostly everything by messing up, and then fixing it. Fortunately, GitHub remembers past things that you have made. So if you're diligent about putting things in GitHub, then you generally don't have anything to worry about. There's always a chance that things could go really wrong, but it's very unlikely. And even if it does, you've learned an important lesson. So here's a quick intro to Git. So there's a website platform, and that's github.com. If you should have gone there to set up a profile, and if you haven't, I would encourage you to stop the video now and go set up that account. It's just github.com. And you will click create an account if you haven't yet created your account. So you can set up these things called repositories. They're abbreviated, or they're shortened to repos just because it's easier to say. It allows a holistic, very visual perspective of a project. You can see all the code you have. You can actually read the code you've written, and you can see how it all intertwines. More into that later. And you can view the files that are in your repo. And like that's something you can do exclusively. You are welcome to just code in GitHub. But I strongly advise against it. It is a lot better to access and modify via the command line. So you must install the Git package to your computer. We're going to talk about that in a second. With this Git package, it is a tool to pull from the GitHub to a local server. And by local server, I just mean your computer software. Basically your hard drive or your disk drive. You can edit to your heart's content in pajamas in your own home, and then you can commit your changes and push to the hub. Commit and push are highlighted here just because those are some commands that you'll find super helpful a little later on, and hub to remind you that we are pushing to GitHub. Yeah, sorry, this is a jump scare. If you are averse to really cringy 2013 era Lord of the Rings memes, please avert your eyes. This is true. One does not simply get push dash dash force. A lot of what you do in GitHub is collaboration, but forcing a push is not in the collaborative spirit, as it messes a lot of people's code up and prioritizes your code. What you should do instead is try to find a different option and communicate to your team if you need to do this. If this is a last resort type thing. So this is where we go to demo and setup. Specifically setup first. So let's go to, this is a great reason to know where pages are in your computer, because there's instructions for installing Git. There are multiple ways to do this. So there's these instructions. Yeah, so there are these instructions that are in the pages that I'm highlighting right here. You just click on the link, or you can go to Ed, where I made the announcement last night on January 23rd to download Git before class. If you go to this link right here, it takes you to the GitHub official downloads page. You can choose what your computer is. I have a Mac, so I'd go here. If you only choose one of the following options, I recommend Homebrew. You'll have to install Homebrew for a couple of things. So just click on that link. What you'll do is you'll copy this to your terminal, and then you will run it. You could just copy it by clicking this clipboard. And then you will open your terminal, which I will stop sharing and share my terminal. Okay. So you go to your terminal and you'll paste that in. I'm not going to run this because I already have brew installed. But if you did run it, you would see something like requirements already met. Yeah, so let's go back to this page. It might be easier if I actually just share my whole desktop. Okay, yeah, there we go. So let's go back. So back button. And then once you have brew installed, you'll run brew install git. Yeah, it really is that simple. If you try to install Homebrew and it gives you an output with something like next steps, copy the whole recommended copy the whole recommended command, put it into your command line and run that. This is only if it throws you an error, and that error includes like a next steps section. Carefully read through that. If the error doesn't make sense, put it into Google. If it still doesn't make sense, shoot me an email or come to office hours. And now let's do Windows. For Windows, it's a little bit easier. You can click here to download. But you have to make sure you finish the download by opening up the package that it installs, that it downloads into your download file. And then you'll be able to open this thing called Git Bash, which allows you to code in the same language as I would on my Mac, which is actually really useful because Mac is secretly based on a distribution called Unix, which is a much more easy to write in, and it's much more standard among academia and industry than what comes standard on the Windows shell. So I would recommend for the rest of this class that you use git bash, not your command prompt and not your Windows PowerShell. Yeah, if you have a Linux distribution, I'm kind of leaving it to you. You know what distribution you have. If you have Linux downloaded, I'm kind of assuming you know enough about your distribution to do this. If you don't, come to office hours, we'll figure it out. Yeah, so that's that for that. I would recommend trying to go play around with it. Let me actually show you guys GitHub.com so you can see what it looks like. I am in the Python decal GitHub, but you should see a screen like this, and you'll create an account. I'm currently signed in, so if I wanted to create a new account, I would have to hit sign out. Not going to do that. But it's fairly straightforward to create an account. Once you have created your account and installed Git, the Git package, then we can get to making an SSH key. And this is kind of where we stopped on, or today, January 24th. Was the rest, or about half of the class was just helping people get installed with their, helping people get Git installed, helping people set up their GitHub, and getting their SSH keys going. So let's get into SSH keys. So first of all, an SSH key is a really useful privacy-oriented thing. It's essentially a key that allows you to commit from your local server, which is just your computer, to your GitHub. They added, like, it's much more secure. It's SSH stands for Secure Shell, which is good because I'm pretty sure GitHub got hacked a little bit ago, so I think they changed their privacy policies. But anyway, let's get started. So the first thing you'll do is you'll run this command. Don't put your sub email at example.com. Easiest way is to copy paste this SSH keygen -t RSA -b 4096 -c, and then open up your terminal again. So what's the best way to do this? Let me go over here and minimize this. What I'll do is make this a little bit smaller. Stop screen sharing and share my desktop again. Great. Now I know you guys can see that. Cool. So let's copy paste this command. If you are on Windows, your keyboard shortcuts will not work, I believe. You'll want to use the email that is connected to your GitHub if you do not remember how to do that, or if you do not remember which email you used for your GitHub, you can find it in your profile on github.com. So remember to close that quotation marks. And you should see something that says generating public/private RSA key pair. And then it says enter file in which to save the key. If you just hit enter, then that will put it in the default, which is ID sub RSA. I already have an SSH key in that file, in that folder, so I'm just going to overwrite it because that works fine. You are creating a new passphrase for your key pair. So I just don't put in a password, but if you want to put in a password, that's fine. Note of warning, if you are typing in this prompt, it's not going to show up. It's just going to keep blinking that key at you. And you're going to think that it's not actually typing. Maybe your keyboard is broken, but that's not true. You are actually typing, so don't just keep pressing keys. So I'm just going to hit enter because I don't want a password for this. And then once you do that, you should get this random art. And then let's go back here. This is to verify that you have just created this pair. This command shows you all the things that you have done inside of this directory, tilde-.ssh. Tilde, again, means your home directory, which for me is users-cg tolly. For y'all, it should be users- and then whatever your username on your computer is. Now, if you see here, so ID sub RSA, that's the default. It is currently 10:05, which is 22:05 on January 24th, so that's good. That means that I've created this ID sub RSA and this ID sub RSA.pub. That just means it's public. Remember, we saw it was private and public key pair. So that's good, that's perfect. We go back here, we copy this command, which generates the agent. Sorry about that, let me close out my Discord so it's not, okay. And then paste that. It should give you something that says agent PID 8727. Cool, perfect. And then you run this command. I'm not sure what it does. You don't really need to. So it adds your identity and good. This is the email that I use for my GitHub. Perfect. And now finally, you need to copy it to your clipboard. You need to copy this public key to your clipboard. You can use any of these commands. So for Windows, you should use clip. It won't display anything, but it will be copied, and that's important. So I'll show you what to do then. For me, I'm a Mac, so I do pb copy. This, if I paste that here, if I hit enter, it's not going to show me anything, but it is copied now, which is good. Another way you can see it, I don't know if this works on Mac, but yeah. So you want to see ID sub RSA.public. You want your public key, not your private key. Oh, I see. So if you say here, there, this is what your public key should look like. And then you'll now we'll go to our GitHub again. So let me just github.com. I'm gonna switch out of this account because this is not the account that I want. I want to be in mine. So you'll go to your profile picture here. You'll go down to settings. You will go to SSH and GPG keys. Right now, I've got a couple of keys. Don't worry about that. You won't have any unless you've done this before. I'm going to delete this key because it's my old one. And then I'm going to add a new one. So you'll hit add new SSH key. You'll paste, oh, no. Okay, hold on a second. Let me copy it again, paste it, and I'll name it. I name it key because I'm an original. Then add the SSH key. The password, my password is important to confirm that I'm doing this. I'll hit confirm. Great. So now this is updated. I have a new SSH key. That is about as far as we got today, so please feel free, follow along. You can pause the video whenever. And yeah, have a great night. Let me see if I'm forgetting anything. Yeah, we'll go over how to use it a little bit or on Monday.